Chapter 6. Echoes in the Stone. A hush fell over Galeos's windswept peaks as Kaito and his companions prepared to depart. The swirling mists and gusts that had once felt so invigorating now seemed like restless spirits, whispering their farewells. Although Silva's people were momentarily safe, every passing hour reminded Kaito that their mission spanned far beyond one kingdom's troubles. Their path now lay south toward the kingdom of Duroth, a realm of iron will and unyielding stone. The descent from the sky cliffs. Led by Silva's deft navigation, the group followed a precarious trail that snaked down from Galeos's lofty heights. Massive boulders jutted out at odd angles, and loose gravel threatened to send them tumbling with every misstep. Even Kyle, normally so self-assured, muttered under his breath as he carefully tested his footing. Umbra padded along beside Kaito, the wolf-like familiar moving with surprising grace along narrow ledges. Occasionally, Umbra would flick an ear or growl softly at unseen presences lurking behind the rocks. "These cliffs are treacherous," Era observed, her tone distant as she clutched her battered tome of runes. "But it's the perfect place for anyone who wishes to remain unseen." She darted cautious glances over her shoulder, clearly mindful of the persistent sensation that someone, or something, shadowed their every move. Every so often, her fingers twitched as though she were ready to cast a spell at a moment's notice, determined to protect both her research and her allies. Into the borderlands. By midday, the jagged path leveled out into rolling foothills where the roar of howling winds subsided. Sparse forests of twisted pines and hardy shrubs replaced Galeos's grand vistas. The air grew heavier and warmer. The pungent scent of earth and clay spoke of their nearness to Duroth. Far ahead, low mountain ranges rose like slumbering beasts, their peaks tinged with shades of bronze and slate. Smoke from distant forges occasionally curled into the sky, a silent signal of dwarven industry. "Look at that." Kale pointed to columns of black smoke drifting lazily above the horizon. "Dwarven forges, no doubt. I hear they can smith a blade sharper than a dragon's fang." Kaito nodded but kept his gaze forward. His mind churned with thoughts of what might await them in this new kingdom. Duroth was famed not just for its smithing prowess, but for its people's unwavering loyalty to their traditions. He wondered whether the dwarves would welcome a wandering king from a fallen realm or brand him a fool chasing ghosts. Silva cleared her throat as they neared a shallow ravine with a rickety wooden bridge strung across it. "We'll need to be careful once we cross into Duroth territory. The dwarves might not be hostile, but they don't take kindly to outsiders meddling in their affairs." The first signs of turmoil. As they crossed the border into Duroth, the group encountered evidence that all was not well here either. Fields lay fallow and abandoned, with broken carts and smashed barrels scattered along the roadside. A few terrified villagers peeked from their homes at the strangers passing through. Kaito paused to speak with an elderly dwarf who limped out of a cottage to greet them, his eyes clouded with worry. "Bandits," the dwarf rasped, clutching a makeshift cane. "They've grown bold these past months, raiding settlements near the mines. Some say it's more than common criminals. Something dark drives them." Kaito shared a look with Kale, Silva, and Era. It was the same story everywhere, an undercurrent of fear and disorder, as though the kingdoms were slowly unraveling. The dwarf's words only confirmed their suspicions that a greater evil was at play, fueling chaos at the edges of every realm. "We'll help however we can," Kaito promised, the faint glow of Eternum humming at his side. The old dwarf nodded gratefully, though doubt lingered in his weary eyes. Campfire lessons. That evening they made camp in the shelter of a rocky outcrop near a narrow river. As Kale started a small fire, Silva circled the perimeter, setting rudimentary traps to ward off thieves or hostile creatures. Era took out her journal, flipping to a fresh page to record their observations. Meanwhile, Kaito set about gathering water, Umbra by his side. When he returned, he found Kale poking at the flames in silent frustration. "You look troubled," Kaito remarked, settling beside him. Kale shrugged. "Just thinking. Pyros thrives on strength, straightforward battles, and open victories. But these covert problems, bandits, betrayals, hidden evils, it's not what I'm used to." Kaito offered a sympathetic smile. "We'll face it together, Kale. I need you to keep helping me hone that fire core of yours if I'm going to protect everyone who's counting on us." The prince gave a short laugh. "Then I expect you not to hold back. Show me you can handle the heat." Nearby, Silva approached, Umbra trailing behind. She glanced at Kaito. Speaking of handling things, Umbra's grown more responsive to your commands. Keep practicing what I showed you. Shared breathing, synced heartbeats. Your familiar can evolve alongside you, but only if your bond is strong and balanced. Kaito nodded, grateful for her guidance. He could already sense a deeper connection to Umbra, like a shared current of energy passing between them. Era's breakthrough. As the sky deepened to twilight, Era suddenly gasped. A swirling glyph of light appeared in front of her, projected from a small crystal orb she'd been studying. Lysara's spirit, visible only to Kaito, drifted closer with a mix of curiosity and concern. I found another fragment, Era announced, her voice shaking with excitement. It's faint, but I can see an image. A castle, Eternia's castle, encircled by 6 other banners. Then there's a 7th. She trailed off, eyes flickering over the floating glyph. The symbol distorted, twisting until it vanished in a pulse of dark energy. Era flinched, beads of sweat forming at her temple. It's like something deliberately obscured it. I can't hold the vision, but the castle, it was intact. It might be a clue to where we can find more memories of Eternia's past, or the sword's connection. Kaito leaned forward, heart pounding. Do you think it's a vision of the past, or the future? Era shook her head, frustration etched across her face. I can't say for sure, but I feel like we're close to uncovering something important, something that ties all these betrayals together. Onward to the Dwarven halls. Despite the unsettling revelations, they pressed on at dawn. The trail to Durath's capital wound through a maze of rocky passes, culminating in a grand iron-laden gateway hewn directly into the mountain's face. The gates dwarfed even Kale, carved with scenes of legendary dwarven battles and feats of craftsmanship. As Kaito and his allies approached, their footsteps echoed on polished stone tiles, each reverberation a reminder of Durath's proud heritage. Let's hope they see reason, Silva remarked dryly. We've already got one volatile prince in our crew. Kale scowled, but a ghost of a grin tugged at the corner of his mouth. Kaito simply exhaled, steeling himself for the negotiations and potential conflicts that lay ahead. If they could earn the dwarves' respect, they might gain access to specialized weaponry, or, at the very least, the wisdom of the dwarven blacksmiths. And Kaito had a strong sense that, somewhere within these ancient halls, answers to Eternia's secrets and Lysara's lost memories awaited. The massive gates began to creak open, revealing torchlit corridors that descended into the heart of the mountain. Dwarven guards, their beards braided with silver chains, leveled halberds in a cautious greeting. The tension was palpable. These were proud warriors who would brook no threat to their domain. State your names and purpose, one guard demanded, voice echoing in the cavernous entrance hall. Kaito took a breath, stepping forward. I am Kaito Arashi, bearer of Eternum, heir to Eternia. We come to seek the wisdom of your forges and the might of your people. We mean no harm, only to unite our realms against a growing darkness. An uneasy silence fell, broken only by the soft hum of Eternum at Kaito's side. For a long moment, the dwarves exchanged glances, their expressions inscrutable beneath thick brows and braided hair. Then, their commanding officer spoke up, voice rumbling like distant thunder. You speak of an ancient darkness. We've heard murmurs, same as you. Lay down your weapons, and we'll take you to our king. With that, Chapter 6 truly begins. A test not just of diplomacy and courage, but of whether the bonds Kaito has forged so far can stand firm in a kingdom built on stone and tradition, where old grudges may still simmer, and where even the unyielding bedrock of Durath might crack under the weight of secrets left buried for centuries.